Welcome everyone to episode 1 of Worked with Steph and Steph. My name is Steven, and every week my co-host Stephanie and I will be bringing you content, and we hope you stick around as we're going to try to be interactive. We're going to be so much different than every other wrestling podcast. It's not going to be the same ho-hum drum, yelling, screaming with a bar background. We're here to bring you, break down what's actually happened on the shows, kind of talk about where we would like to see it go, and kind of explain maybe why they did some of these things that make you so angry. But I've spoken long enough. Let me introduce you to the one, the only, and my co-host, Stephanie Hypes. Steph, how are you doing today?
I am awesome. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Just needed to find the right person.
Right.
And that is you, Steve.
Well, it's so funny because I tweeted out on a whim, and I was just like, if I ever was going to do a podcast again, because I've done so many of them, it would be with you, because I think you are a great balance. I'm very logically speaking with everything, and I think you bring a lot of good emotion with it. And we've done a couple of things together before, so you reached out to me. You were like, hey, are you serious about this? And I was like, sort of, why not? And here we are.
Let's give it a shot, right? Let's give it a shot.
Episode 1, and just to give you guys a little bit about what we're going to do, twice a week, we're going to be breaking down Raw and SmackDown on Wednesdays, and then on Fridays, we're going to just be kind of doing a recap of what wrestling was that week. We're going to take questions, we're going to interact with you guys, we're going to do some live shows. We're going to have a fun time on this show. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about NXT. We can even cover Dynamite, Rampage, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about. There's a lot of wrestling going on right now, so it really leaves the door wide open.
Speaking of Dynamite, and for our AEW friends that think we're the two WWE shills, I can't wait to hey, they're getting paid to do this positive WWE podcast. Let me tell you something. That spot Sammy Guevara and Cody did from Wednesday might not be able to be topped all year long. It will be in every AEW video package moving forward, as it should be. It kind of reminds me of that Cody moonsault.
So clean. So clean.
Yeah,
that was beautiful.
And you got to believe they never practiced that, because you run the risk of. Oh, exactly, right? It's kind of like what everybody thought Edge practiced the spear with the hanging. How are we going to practice that? Maybe he practiced with a crash pad, just jumping over the ladder but AEW fans, we're wrestling fans. Generally speaking, I'm not a negative dude on Twitter. So if you're looking for negativity, you're probably on the wrong show, and there's plenty of other wrestling podcasts for you.
And that is going to be the difference. We are a positive wrestling podcast. And don't get me wrong, we have our criticisms
for
both WWE and AEW. And I just want you guys to know, we keep it fair, we keep it balanced.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not happy with everything WWE does. We're not happy with everything AEW does. It is what it is. But we'll keep it positive. We will have some constructive criticism.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a place where we go bashing things and people. That's not what this is about.
No.
We love wrestling. We want to talk about wrestling. That's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. So let's talk wrestling, right? We've talked about us long enough. Let's jump into it. Every Friday, we're going to be running down some big rumors going on. And probably the biggest thing that's happened, so news and rumors. So the biggest thing that's probably happened is this Disney Indonesia deal. Some people are downplaying it. Some people are like, well, it's just Indonesia. What does this mean? And I simply tweeted out yesterday, WWE now has deals with the 4 major broadcast conglomerates in media. What do you think this means?
For me, number one, they're putting their foot in the water, right? They're putting their foot in the water with Disney. Everyone's like, oh, well, it's in Indonesia. No big deal. No. You always start something first, see how it goes in one market, and then you expand. This is a big deal. We're talking about ESPN right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of potential. I think there have been rumors going on for a while about Disney and WWE and how they're going to sell. And look, it's a huge company. It's a huge deal. They're going to take their time and they're going to test it out. And this is a huge first step.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you look at it, if you're in business, I've been in business a long time. When you start out with new relationships, some of it is, hey, let me take a piece of what you do. Let's take the data from that piece, and then you can kind of extrapolate. Well, okay, if we increase it by this, then we'll see an increase of this. And I kind of think that's what we're doing here. I think that we're going to see pretty much. It feels like Nick Khan is running this kind of like the NFL does. Like the NFL has has games on Amazon and NBC and CBS and Fox and exactly Nickelodeon. I actually tweeted the other day, I think WWE should do the same thing with Nickelodeon. I think it's a great idea for kids.
My husband was watching the game on Nickelodeon, not CBS, not ESPN, but on Nickelodeon. And to be honest, he was like, I can't wait till they get to the end zone and they
you get the big slam. Yeah.
He's a grown man, right? But it is fun. It's different, right? It gets kids involved. It gets kids interested, and adults too.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, you're right. I think this opens some doors for them to do more things.
Yeah.
Different markets.
And what it seems like may happen here is they're just opening up revenue streams, and I tweeted about it at the end of last year. I said I have a prediction. And it's going to be, WWE is going to find more ways to create more revenue streams. And no matter how much some people on social media may be clamoring for the downfall of WWE, as a business, it's just not happening.
Right.
They're thriving more than they ever have before.
Financially, they're doing amazing. Now, whether you agree with their business practices and how they handle talent, that's two totally different things. But
yeah.
As far as them doing bad, that's not happening.
And we'll have to talk about that sometime on the show. I think you and I could have a really good conversation about how contracts are structured and I'm a believer that every talent should have an agent. Like, even if you're an indie talent, I think you should have an agent at this point. But let's move on to the next thing. Right now, the second biggest thing going on, maybe in all of AEW, is Cody working without a contract. You actually DM'd me about it. You're like, what is this? And I was like, well, no, it's legit. Like, he doesn't have a contract. And
I think he posted or something came out yesterday about it's a handshake deal at this point.
Yeah.
Handshake deal. And
do you think it's real? Like, I think he really doesn't have a contract. Do you think he is really not working this into an angle?
Oh, so I 100% think it's an angle.
Yeah.
I do believe that he is working without a contract, of
Yeah.
course, but he eventually will resign, right? I think this is character work. This is story work. And it's great. It has people talking.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Leave?
No, he's not leaving. This is probably the best way to reintroduce him being able to have a title match, because he had that match early on in the AEW run. Maybe you see him like show up at Ring of Honor or something in the meantime. But this just feels like a work, and good for them, because it's got people talking and it's interesting. And I think something that I'm a proponent of, and I've said this on many shows in the past, I think that regardless of good or bad, the thing that you want most out of television is interesting.
Yes.
If you are interesting, it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. Okay.
I mean, my favorite wrestler says it all the time. If people are talking about you, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's hate or good or bad or whatever the case may be, if you're talking, you're doing your job. So people are talking about it. People don't know what's going on. People are tuning in. You're doing your job.
Absolutely. And just to fill people in, just in case they came here through my Twitter or just stumbled upon this, your favorite wrestler is...
Charlotte Flair. Just kidding. No, I do love the Four Horsemen.
Woo.
First of all, I think everyone who knows me knows that.
Yeah.
But Becky Lynch, that's my girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So And some people knew me as Becky Lynch's hype woman
Yes.
for like the longest time.
Yeah.
Someone gave me that name, but and then it just kind of stuck. And they're like, "Oh, it's your hype woman."
I think you're a great advocate for women's wrestling as a whole.
Yeah, and so that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, it started as Becky Lynch's hype woman, then it became the women's wrestling hype woman, and now I'm just Stephanie Hype. So
you hype everything.
I hype everything. Like I talk about it, I hype it up, I get excited.
So we mentioned contracts a few minutes ago. There's a really interesting contract situation going on. Ali wants out, or at least he tweeted that he wants out. Really cool video, super talented individual. Not sure that he could get in any kind of better shape. So it's not a look thing for WWE. It's not a talent thing. He's extremely creative. He's not old. Like he can't be on a huge deal. So when I have a door theory. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but I essentially have this theory that if you have one of these red flags and WWE can replace you with someone who doesn't have that flag at a cheaper cost, then you might be gone.
Right.
Ali hits all the boxes, so what do you make of this? Should they release him? Should they keep him? Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Where are we at?
I have thoughts, Stephen. And people are probably going to laugh. I think it's a work.
Ooh.
Because here's the thing. Think about this for a minute. I'm sitting here watching AEW talent.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-WWE talent. All these people tweeting #Free Ali.
Free Ali.
And I'm like, okay. There's a story that comes out about him and Vince getting in a heated argument. And he releases that video, blah, blah, blah. I'll say two things. One, if it's real, let the man go. Let him go. But he has so much potential. He has so much talent. And he even said it, my message is bigger than wrestling.
Yeah.
There's a message he wants to get out. And it seems like WWE is not letting him do that. So let him go so he can do that. And I'm like, and why would? And to your point, he hits all the boxes.
All the boxes.
Is that why they're not letting him go? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
They're not letting him go because he hits all the boxes, but it sounds like they may want him to do something he's not comfortable with. So it's just one of those things where you're just gonna let him sit there. I don't know. It's just, it can go many ways.
Sure.
So if it's real, let him go. #Free Ali. If it's a work or if it's a work to shoot, they're doing a great job because they have ex-WWE talent tweeting it.
Yeah.
They have AEW talent tweeting it.
Everybody. He trended for days.
And they're still, they still are commenting on under most of them. And WWE at WWE Fox is blocking people who are commenting #Free Ali. And so that makes me go, if it's a work, why would you block everybody? So it's just one of those things where I'm like, it just seems very odd. And back to our point earlier where we could have this conversation about contracts. If you are letting all these people go and someone wants to go, I mean, they let Tony Storm go like that.
I would.
Why, like, if Ali wants out and you guys are having budget cuts, let him go. Yeah,
it's a tough situation, right? Like, you have an extremely talented individual, you have him under contract, you have him, I'm assuming, at a cheap cost, relative to what they pay other talents.
Right.
Try to work it out, maybe. I want to think it's a work for his sake.
I do too.
Right? Because that's the best case scenario here. Is he's getting a push and he's getting all this social media attention and, they push the right button here.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think it's one of those things where he was unhappy. I'm sure he privately stated first he was unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
And then he publicly stated he was unhappy. And now WWE's like, wait, we don't want to lose this asset. So what do we got to do to keep you? I'm hoping no matter what happens, he gets some leverage out of this and he uses it.
Absolutely.
I think more talent should speak out when they're unhappy. I think for the longest time they felt like they couldn't because where else are we going to go to make real money?
I think more people are speaking up. I don't know. I've seen a couple things where I think Stone Cold's touched on it. Seth Rollins has touched on it. Vince does like people who stand up for themselves.
Sure.
right?
If you think back to like Shawn Michaels from like the mid '90s, I mean, he had to be an absolute awful person to work with, like behind the scenes, because he's like Hulk Hogan. That's not going to work for me, brother. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are happy to be there at first. Like, I made it, so and I'll get my shot. I'm going to wait my turn, and I think Vince is one of those like old school. You don't wait your turn, guys. You go.
Let's face it.
You go take it, right? Like when Becky got punched in the nose, or she turned heel against Charlotte, she ran with it. Like, and there were years where like
she grabbed that brass ring and ran.
There were years where like the fan base was like clamoring, "Oh, Becky." But like honestly, I thought she was a clear third or fourth even behind Charlotte and Sasha. Like I thought Charlotte and Sasha were the stars. I thought they, coming out at NXT, but the way, like she's run with it more than any of the horsewomen have, and I think that's what Vince likes to see. I think that he wants to see like a little bit of a bulldog. That's why AJ Styles works so well, right? Like he took it.
He did.
So to wrap that up, I think we both hope it's a work, or at least we hope the best for him, because he's a super talented individual.
And if anything, if this is real and they see this response online and they see these people behind him, and I think that you couldn't have been blind to, well, I say you couldn't have been blind to people being behind him, but then again, they were trying to turn Becky heel for the longest time. Clearly people were like against all of that. So and it still took them a while to get it. So so maybe they don't see the people behind Ali.
Maybe.
But the man has so much talent, so much support.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping out of this, seeing the response from people wanting him to go and give his message, I'm hoping they'll go, okay, we need to work this out. We need to figure this out, because clearly there's something here and we're missing it.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Let's talk the last news piece, rumor piece, whatever we're going to call this thing. And this one is probably going to hit you the closest to home.
Yeah.
Probably the person that could face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania and tie up a fantastic story that's going to be told over like 3 years. Yeah. Ronda Rousey returning at the Royal Rumble. What would you make of it?
Okay, so the storyline wrestling fan in me is like, amazing, we get to wrap up the story, right? We get to, I don't even know if it's the wrap up, right? It would just technically be the second time. It might be a trilogy, right?
Next chapter of the story.
The next chapter of the story, which I love a good story, right?
Yeah.
However, I didn't want it right now. And some people were like, why wouldn't you want that? And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I want the match. I want to see Becky versus Ronda. Don't get me wrong. I didn't want it right now because of the storyline that was going with Bianca. They put a pin in it, right? Because, sometimes they have an issue with elongating things out a bit and dragging them out. She could have been fighting Bianca all fall, right?
Yeah.
But she's not. But they did something different, and they were like, okay, let's give Becky other people in the interim until we get to Rumble Mania season. And so for me, that was the storyline. Bianca just kind of came back out a couple weeks ago and said, I'm back, I'm here, I'm back in the title. I'm back in the title. And so I'm like, great, here we are. This is it. Like we're on our trajectory, right? So for me, it's still Bianca versus Becky at me.
Yeah.
And then the Ronda rumors dropped, and I'm like, I want to be happy, and I'm at the same time, I'm like, Bianca is her W, right?
Yeah.
Her big W. The reason why it's such a big deal, obviously she beat Sasha Banks at Mania, and they made history, and it was incredible. I think I cried the whole time. But Sasha was a heel, right?
Yeah.
And is a known heel.
Yeah.
You have Becky Lynch, literally someone who was the biggest face of the company. She's the biggest. She's the biggest women's star in the industry. Yes. And that. So beating her is for and especially in WWE, beating her is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right. She's held that title actively since WrestleMania 35.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where, yes, Bianca beat Sasha. Beating Becky is even a bigger story because you've now beat the biggest person who became the face of WWE.
Yeah.
At this point, right? And so it's a huge deal. And Bianca is that person. You can tell they're fully behind her. So at the same time, Vince likes a good cash money grab, and Ronda is that, right? Ronda brings the mainstream. Ronda brings the name. It is a big fight that everybody has wanted for the longest time. And so I get that. And so I just have this internal battle with myself where I'm like, I'm going to be happy either way.
Sure.
But I personally would love to see the culmination of Bianca and Becky. And do I believe it will still happen if Ronda does show up? Absolutely. I do believe that
eventually.
Maybe it's SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's a full circle thing and Bianca beats her there. But either way, I just want to see the culmination of that story for Bianca. And at the same time, I could be just as excited for Ronda. So I had said, if they do bring Ronda, I want them to throw everybody off. And technically, she owes Charlotte, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Charlotte beat her senseless at Survivor Series, right? They never had a one-on-one to culminate that either.
Yeah.
So I'm like, keep Ronda away from Becky for a while, right? You know, build that back up, build that tension back up, have Becky looking over her shoulder every Raw, like, is Ronda gonna show up here, right? Like,
yeah.
keep that going. But, you know, it is Mania, they're gonna want it for Mania, and so it's just one of those things where I'd be happy either way, but my heart says Bianca versus Becky. My mind is excited for Ronda versus Becky.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's showing up or not. I have talked to Becky, but she will not let me know either way. So
ooh,
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
So let me say this: whoever Ronda faces, like, let's work under the assumption Ronda Rousey's going to show up. Yeah. Whoever if it's Charlotte or Becky, whoever that is getting the night one main event spot.
That's correct.
So you would think it would be Becky because, again, she is the counterpiece to the Roman Reigns megastar puzzle for WWE, right? Not that Charlotte's not huge. Charlotte is, she's like the Randy Orton of this generation, right? Like, she's a big star. You could easily put her in the title picture. She makes a lot of money, and it's great. But she's not Becky. And so I kind of look at it differently, right? Like, I love both stories. Hell, I have a story in my head where you could have Liv Morgan win the Royal Rumble, and you get a really cool payoff for Liv Morgan at WrestleMania because she worked her tail off
She has.
in that feud with Becky. Like, she was another one that I had, like, completely written off. I did not see it. I didn't get it. I was wrong. Like, it happens sometimes.
And that's what that feud is about. Sometimes obviously I ignore most of the little troll people on Twitter, but like you're like Liv should have won. I'm like, you understand that this feud was not about Liv winning.
No.
Liv wasn't going to win.
No.
That wasn't what that was about. That was about putting Liv in the main event picture against one of the biggest stars in the industry.
Yeah.
And now Liv, and she protected her.
Yeah.
And she cheated to win. She now has told people, this girl is this good. I had to cheat to win, to beat her. And so people are, why does Becky have to cheat? Becky fans, why does she have to cheat? Why can't she be like Roman and just beat everybody clean? And I'm like, unfortunately, for the women's division, because it wasn't built up very well around the Ronda days, it left very little women with credibility. That was Becky's first problem when she was the Raw champion. After she won at WrestleMania, there weren't very many credible people to then challenge her. You just beat freaking Ronda Rousey.
Lacey Evans didn't do it for you?
Look, I have nothing against Lacey and her. I think it dragged out too long.
But she wasn't established, and I think that's your point, right? Like,
exactly. There was no until Sasha showed back up. Then you have a believable, right? It's freaking Sasha. It's the boss. One of the best pro wrestler, in my opinion, in WWE right now. But it's just one of those things where, and then they threw into some random tag team thing.
Yeah.
They had no credible opponents, right? This time it's different. This time Becky is taking people who
and elevating them.
Seen, and she's now elevated them into the main event picture.
Yeah.
This is huge for Dewdrop tomorrow.
So this for Dewdrop tomorrow is much like what it was for Liv Morgan, right? Like Liv is Liv now has a little bit of clout, right? Like you could put Liv in a feud with Alexa, and you're going to be more entertained than you would have 6 months ago.
It's gonna be a more realistic feud now because you're like Liv is a freaking threat.
And we're gonna talk about that because I think Saturday Dewdrop has the most to gain in my opinion this Saturday. But let's go ahead. Let's wrap up the Raw. Would you be happy with Rousey versus Becky?
Yes.
Okay, I would too. I think it's a mega match. But you gotta find somewhere for Bianca to go because, in my opinion,
it's a big match for me. If it's not Becky, give Bianca a legend.
In my opinion, I think Bianca Belair has everything. You want to talk about somebody who checks the boxes, not just to be under contract, but superstar. Like she's humble, she's kind. Like you could see her doing all the Make-A-Wishes. Like she looks great.
Find a more likable.
She's athletic. She could be massive. I mean, like face of the company, massive.
This is my thought on Bianca. Obviously, I want her to regain the championship, and I've thrown this out there on Twitter at some point.
Yeah.
But I would like Bianca to be the first woman to win the Intercontinental Championship or U.S. Championship. I could visibly see a match between her and Damian Priest, her and Ziggler, her and Sami Zayn. If WWE wanted to go there.
Yeah.
I could see her doing that. I mean, the woman lifted Otis, for God's sake. Like, I could see it happening, and I would love for her to be the first one to cross that bridge. Actually, I think China did it as well.
Yeah.
But
Intercontinental title.
In recent times.
Sure.
I would love for her to be that person.
She has all of it. I would love to see Ziggler bump his ass off for Bianca Belair. I think that would be amazing. All right, jumping out of news and rumors, jumping in just a little bit to SmackDown. We're not going to talk about Raw and SmackDown and NXT and AEW from this past week. We're going to do that on our Wednesday shows. We're going to kind of recap SmackDown and Raw and then talk a little bit about AEW and NXT on Fridays. But what would you like to see tonight from SmackDown to really set that table? Because it's not really about what I personally want all the time, right? Like if it were just up to me personally, The Miz would have a 9,000 day title reign, right? Because he's my favorite wrestler, but he's not. And so how do you set this table to jump into Saturday and like, all right, I got my popcorn, I got my nachos, I got my Pepsi, I'm ready to go.
I got chicken wings.
Hey,
look.
So let me.
Ordered them and everything.
Are you like a garlic parm, a buffalo? Are you like a deep fried or grilled? Like.
People are laughing. I love lemon pepper wings.
Hey.
I love teriyaki wings. Like I like everything but traditional stuff.
Sure.
So I get the other flavors. But
nothing wrong with that.
I do love garlic parm. Amazing.
I don't think I've met a wing that I haven't liked yet.
Right.
Outside of like Little Caesars.
If you get
Little Caesars
buffalo wings, I'm still gonna eat.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Be okay. No. So to your point, I wish more wrestling fans would think that way.
Yeah.
It's not always about what I want. What's best for the story? What's best for this character? What's best for everyone's like, I want so-and-so to have the title. If you looked on Twitter and like everybody who wants everyone to have a title, everyone would be champion all the time.
Sure.
And it's just not how it works. But to your point, for tonight, I would love. I mean, I think Seth is supposed to be on there. I was a little underwhelmed by the Bobby Brock thing on Raw.
Okay.
I wish there was a little bit more of a.
Cowboy hat Brock didn't do it for you?
Oh, I love that. It was underwhelming.
Yeah.
Me. I love the scale. I love the weigh-in. Like all that stuff was really cool. the end of it just kind of fell flat. Does that
Sure.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would love to see. I don't know if I want Seth and Roman to actually get their hands on each other, per se. I could see it happening, but I kind of just I want a good stare down in the ring and just sign off SmackDown like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want them face to face, brother to brother, in each other's face, and I just no antics. I want it signed off just like that.
Yeah,
That's what I'd love to see for them.
I
For
think
the women and the other men who are in Rumble,
yeah,
I would like to just get kind of a preview of things. Do you know what I mean? Like get everyone in the ring, not everybody, but a good amount of people in the ring.
Sure.
And, have them like trying to toss each other off or whatever, like or practicing or whatever it is. Like oh, let's practice like throwing each other out. We can get this.
How about a 20-minute Charlotte Flair promo?
No.
All right. I agree with you. I would love to see like Seth Rollins stomp out both Usos. I want to see him come out as that dripping Seth Rollins Joker character where he's very loose, but at the end of it, I want the hair down, I want the shirt off, and I want that intense stare down where what Roman has done very well, and I broke it down with a Cena feud, where Cena just dressed him down in the ring. Like, he went full John Cena promo, all the funny punchlines, and Roman didn't flinch. Right? But Roman's done very well at this. I am above you. I think I'm above you.
Without even saying it. With his face.
But there's always that one moment in a feud where he looks like he's unsure. And I need hyper Seth Rollins intense. And I need Roman Reigns to still be confident, but to give you that moment. That moment of...
That in the first promo. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
When Seth started talking about...
with a record against each other.
Yes. And Roman, because Roman had that aura.
Yeah.
And then you saw him kind of crack and look down.
Yeah.
And he looked back up, and he seemed unsure, because Seth was right. Seth's promos have been all truthful.
Yes.
Like, all very fact-driven.
Yes.
With a little exaggerated sometimes, right? But a lot of truth in them. And I think, and I did love that. I love that Roman, he finally looked down and was like, shit, right? Like, he's right. But he didn't give him that satisfaction of saying that, but you saw it in his face. And to your point, I would love that tonight. Him still being kind of unsure with Seth. And you're right. It still shows a vulnerable side, which you don't see very often with Roman, because this is about a story. This is about making people worry. And could he lose? Could he not? Like, there's no way. Well, maybe there is. Like, you want your fans guessing and wondering. You don't want it to be a sure thing, right? So, they've done a great job so far.
I think we'll transition to Royal Rumble here, because I think what WWE has done, and let's set the table here, WWE has done a very good job of, you have Brock Lesnar now as champion, which I didn't want to see Big E's reign end, but at the same time, like, walking into this Rumble where you have Brock facing Bobby, who I'm not sure there's somebody they've built better over 2 years than Bobby Lashley.
It's been amazing.
And then you have Roman against Seth Rollins. And the belief for so many fans is, okay, we're going to get that Brock-Roman match.
Yes.
How are we going to get there? Because you can easily come up with the way that Bobby Lashley beats Brock Lesnar. You can easily come up with the way that Seth Rollins beats Roman Reigns. Just as easily as you could say, I think both guys are going to retain. So what WWE has done here is they've really, and I've actually applauded them for like the last year and a half of this. I think they've done a very good job into these big shows where it's not as predictable as it used to be.
This is the most unpredictable Royal Rumble I can remember, and I don't know how long.
Yeah.
We're about to do these predictions, and I'm going to look at you and go, Steven, I don't know.
Coin flip.
What I think,
Yeah.
But it could literally go a million different ways. There's so many layers of stories between the women's side,
Yep.
between the men's side. It could go a million different ways. I'm excited for Saturday.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if Lashley were to beat Brock, your Rumble winner could change.
Yep.
Right? Like,
and that's what
it's
it is. That's
so many different ways.
It's so unpredictable. It's like, okay, if this person wins, then I think this person needs to win. You're right. It depending on who wins certain matches and what happens.
Yeah.
It completely changes who could possibly win the Rumble in the Mania matches. So
let's start with this. What match do you think should main event this show? Because there's so many different
oh my gosh,
so much going on.
All the title matches need to go before the Rumble.
Okay.
Which Rumble should main event depends on who's winning it.
Sure.
If we're talking about Ronda Rousey returning,
yeah,
the women need to main event.
I agree.
The women's Rumble needs to main event. I don't think. Yeah, the title matches definitely need to. A Rumble needs to main event. I just don't know if it's the men's or the women's right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna give you a minute to think.
Yes.
I think the women's Rumble match should main event. Mainly because Becky's like the only Becky's the only lock on this card, I believe. Like, I believe Becky is a lock to win this match.
Correct. Yeah.
So once she wins, you're still like, it would be a shock if she lost, but you would still be as like anticipating that women's Rumble as you would have even if Becky won, because it's you have no idea who's going to win this women's Rumble. Like it's literally a hand like. It could be Alexa Bliss. It could be Bianca Belair. It could be Ronda Rousey. It could be.
And did you see? Okay, Steven, I don't know if you saw the promo from Mickey on Impact.
Yeah, she said. Yeah, she said she'd defend her Impact title at WrestleMania.
She was like, I can't wait to win this, and it'll be title versus title, champ versus champ, title for title. See who's the best. And I'm over here like, holy crap! Like, what if they actually do that? What if WWE pulls?
Yeah.
So, I mean, number one, no one expected her to show up at Rumble with the Impact Women's Championship, right?
Yeah.
So anything's possible at this point.
But
they do this?
Add Mickey. Charlotte is always a possibility to win. What if Bayley returns? What if Banks returns? What if Asuka returns? Like, right? the talent depth here and the amount of stories you have that you can tell with Becky and Charlotte, I believe it makes that match the most interesting match on the card.
Steven, what if we're getting okie dokes and Sasha returns?
Well, that's it. Like,
because for me, Sasha was my pick for
oh yeah, Rumble winner. Yeah.
And then she got injured, and I was like, what? Like, who's it gonna be now? And so for me, I'm like, what if, she was truly injured, and what if the recovery time was 3 to 4 weeks, but they told us 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, constantly thinking, especially around this time of year, like, you have to constantly question some things. And I don't know. I'm like, what if Sasha ends up showing up?
So to me, that is the match that should main event, because I think regardless of the winner of the title match, it has the most stakes and the most excitement around. Like, I don't understand the hate for Ronda Rousey. Like, maybe like her political stances or something, or every wrestling fan is like, what? They hated her first run, which I thought was amazing.
So, okay, I know this isn't the conversation, but I will touch on that real quick. There's something, especially with her being gone, there's something Ronda brings that's just so raw.
It's what Brock brings.
Yes.
It's same.
If you watch her wrestle, the way she falls and the way she takes bumps is just so realistic looking, right? Like, she folds like a it's just so cool to watch, right? I did not like her running through the division. Would I expect anything else? No, because it's Ronda Rousey. I just didn't like it because it didn't help any of the women get built back up. Does that make sense?
Besides Becky, it elevated Charlotte and Becky to mega stardom,
Yeah.
right? Like it is clearly Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and then like Bailey has climbed up, but now she's kind of back down. But like it's clear, right? So what they did, they punted on the entire division in hopes that we can make a megastar, and they did. Becky Lynch emerged from the ashes and be first ever woman on a video game and main eventing pay-per-views. Just like it's not even a thing anymore. Like we're not even talking about like historical precedents anymore over women main eventing a show because Becky Lynch and them made it such a commonplace now that it's a norm.
The Four Horsewomen have made it a normal thing now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
So let's.
How did it help any of the other women?
No, it didn't. It didn't at all.
And so which is why now Becky is trying to now bring these women up,
sure,
and protect them while she's going against them and getting them a main event picture. That is my worry with Ronda returning: is she going to run that through and leave these people? And it's not Ronda's fault. WWE should have followed up with some of these women and built them other stories after Ronda. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
they didn't do that.
There's two paths that they had an opportunity for. The one path is you diminish a little bit of the excellence of Ronda Rousey, like the star power of Ronda Rousey, by letting people get over on her a bit, right? But that's going to diminish that value a bit. So you could have elevated everyone up to certain levels, right? Or again, the dice roll that they took and it paid off is you let her run through everybody. So when the person that beats her happens, now
that's your star.
Are a star. So it's hard to like I understand the critique, right? Like it's a fair critique. I don't think there was a way to split the difference there. Like
there was. What WWE could have done, which they're doing better at now, which they didn't do then, was take those women who just lost from Ronda Rousey, give them other feuds outside of the title.
No, right? You're right about that.
They just kind of beat them and they just stayed there, and the focus was on Ronda, Becky, Charlotte, and that was it.
Yeah.
And they never followed back up with those other women. And I guess that's what they could have done differently.
Well,
right?
I mean, right now they're using every woman on the show. Like every women's talent has a part on the show, and it's fantastic because
that's what I wish they had done then. And that's my only critique. That's
sure. No,
that a lot of people didn't.
That's
like
fair.
Was that part, but I don't think
that
necessarily an issue with Ronda being.
Yeah, that wasn't Ronda specific though. That was just bad booking, and like bad formatting of it.
It's not Ronda's fault, but people are putting it on Ronda.
Yeah.
But it's not her fault, right? It was booking. They should have followed up. Let's
save the women's Rumble match because we've decided that should be the main event. So we're gonna save that to the end. We both agree. All right, let's touch on Becky and Doudrop for a second, and not even so much Becky as much as
the opening match.
I think it should be the opening match. I think it better get time. And if I'm Doudrop, I'm getting brand new gear. My hair is looking on point. And I'm going to work my tail off in this match because she's got a real opportunity to break to take that step like Liv did. And she's got the talent to do it, right? Like we've seen it before in the Mae Young Classic and all that kind of she's amazing. And I think, something WWE's doing really well right now is like little girls can envision themselves in so many different people, right? Like if I'm a redheaded girl, Becky Lynch, or maybe you're a bigger girl, there's so much diversity and there's so much opportunity here. I think Becky wins, but this match to me is all about Doudrop and what it means for her career.
Absolutely, you're correct. Becky's retaining. How she retains, I do not know, but I think she will retain. But I just think it's one of those things that, to your point, this match is more about elevating Doudrop and putting her on the map, having people see her, and showing what she's got, right? Most of us more diehards saw her in NXT UK.
Yeah.
Mae Young Classic, all those things, but this is now getting her
spotlight. And, she's got a spotlight.
She has a spotlight right now, and she has been built over the last however many weeks as a credible threat, right? And they've done a great job with that. Even with her feud with Bianca, they had amazing matches.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where this is a career shifting moment for Doudrop, and I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her.
I am too. There's so much you could do with someone like Doudrop. You could make her, you know, we're not going to be a Nia Jax slander podcast either. Like as much fun as that is, because I think what she brought to the division was something that we haven't really ever seen before. Like she was an unstoppable force, right? And she needed to be booked that way. And I think Doudrop has an opportunity who's better in the ring, but she could be that credible, like, force within the division. I think, I hope they go out there and tear it up, because for every person Becky elevates, it's just more real depth to the division, right? And then once you have depth to the division, you can have those secondary and tertiary feuds, which they're doing really well with right now. Like, we have...
It's about time.
We have women's tag feud and a women's secondary non-title feud and a women's title. Like, we don't have just one feud.
And the 24/7 championship is kind of being treated like a women's secondary title right now.
Much love to Dana Brooke. Met Dana Brooke before. Absolute sweetheart.
I have too.
She's awesome. Let's jump to two other women.
Yes.
Maurice, Beth Phoenix, Edge, The Miz.
I really love this so much.
It's such a fun feud,
it's
right?
Fun, man.
By the way, Maurice and The Miz is a pair.
They're great.
I think is a star combination. Like they ooze like celebrity, right? Like they look like every celebrity couple that walks the red carpet. And then you have Edge and Beth Phoenix, who are just they're legends.
They're just badass.
They're these badass legends. Like he looks like a Viking, she looks like a warrior princess, and you have The Miz and Maurice, who look the way that like models.
Yeah.
And it's just such a contrast. And like I don't think people like give enough credit to like just the stark contrast. Like you can even see it with Edge's like appearance. Like he's a little more gritty than he normally is. Like he's already a gritty looking dude, but like for this you have The Miz, who's like clean shaven and a nice suit and everything.
They purposely made them complete opposites. Like you have Beth and Edge in black, right?
Yep.
Dark colors and the dark makeup and stuff like that, and then you have Miz and Maurice and like bright white.
These loud colors, right?
It's loud and just like just polished. And it's just they couldn't be any more opposite, and that's what makes it so much fun. And they've just done a great job in the build. It's been so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I hope this isn't the end for Beth. Like I hope she has a contract kind of like Edge, where she's going to continue to have some feuds and some other things in the ring. So I know a lot of people want to fight her, right? But it's just this has been so much fun. As far as who's going to win it, though, Steven, who's going to win?
Okay. So here's my thing. You can always put The Miz in a feud, right? Because he can talk. He can talk his way into whatever. And he's the one guy. He's my favorite wrestler, right? But he's also the one guy that I feel gets overlooked all the time with his abilities. Like
constantly. People still don't give that man his full flowers.
I fully believe, like outside of John Cena, like if John Cena shows up, he's the best guy on the microphone. Like there's not a question. When The Miz is in his zone, there's nobody that can touch. Like I truly believe there's nobody that can touch him on the microphone, because he's just so sharp. He enunciates very well. Everything's very clear. He adds intensity. He adds emotion. Like when he gets into that growl, like the Daniel Bryan promo from Talking Smack, like the
feud with Shane.
Oh,
dude.
Yeah.
Like it's just he is, whether it's heel or face.
To be honest, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. His ability to tell a story in a promo, in his facial expressions, like in a match, like it's just he's just an all-around great talent. And you can tell WWE sees that, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you can put him like, up against literally.
Doesn't matter. Anybody.
Doesn't matter who it is, and he will kill it.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they've done here, right? Like they have just knocked this out of the park with me. I'm so excited for this match.
Edge needs a credible person to face to bridge between now and Mania, and The Miz is that perfect, credible guy, right? Like he could work the entire card all the way up, all the way to the bottom. Like when you wanted Lashley to fully embrace that fully dominant force, they threw The Miz out there, right? Like
they did.
So
Edge is the guy.
Edge and Beth win here because I think both Edge and Beth are gonna need they don't need the win, but you want to build them up going to WrestleMania. And I think that's what you're going to do. I think you have The Miz and Maurice take the fall, and Edge and Beth win. It's probably one of those double tap out moments where Edge and Beth both get a submission in, and they get that cool, kind of like Cena and Nikki did. Like and how cool does it have to be to like work with your spouse who you met in the business, and awesome, so you also have Edge and Beth then. All right, cool. Let's move on. Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. You go first because I'm going to have to collect my thoughts a little bit.
This on the match card?
This card, this card has the potential to be like the great,
No, Seth versus Roman is more important.
I agree.
Than Brock, as far as trajectory and Rumble winner. Who needs to go before the men's Rumble? I think Seth and Roman have to go before the men's Rumble.
And then you do Bobby, Brock just before the women's Rumble and the co-main?
Yes.
So you stagger it. So you do Roman, Seth, men's Rumble.
Yep.
Brock, Bobby.
Yep.
Women's Rumble. I don't hate that. I can get on board with that.
The reason why I say that, so you're on Brock. Let's circle back. So you're on Brock and Bobby. I think Brock is winning.
Okay.
And that's because I think Roman's losing.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Sure.
But I think Brock is winning. I think he will retain the title. Man, this is so unpredictable. I think Brock's gonna win. I think I don't know, they showed the Hurt Business, the ex-Hurt, not so Hurt Business.
Yeah.
Messing with Bobby, and I think they might play a part.
Okay.
In that. I don't know if it's actually going to be the ultimate reason why he loses per se, but I think they will come out and do something. So we'll see, because I think Bobby's going to start a feud with them, or I think that's kind of where Bobby's going for now.
Okay.
But I think Brock retains. I'm leaving it at that for now.
It's tough.
It is tough.
This match is so tough because how do you ever pick against Brock Lesnar? The odds are that Brock is gonna win, right? Like historical odds say Brock generally wins.
The reason why I'm saying this, so I think the Mania match is Brock versus
Roman. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be both titles. Some people are like, it's going to be, winner take all. And it might be. They might go that route. But I think it's going to be one title, and I think it's going to be the WWE Championship.
Yeah, I agree with you. But my question's the pathing, right? Most of us believed at day one Heyman was going to turn on Brock. And Roman was going to win that match, and then you have Brock win the Rumble, and then you have the Brock Lesnar Redemption Tour. Yep. My question's going to be, because at the same time, I really don't want Roman Reigns' mega run to end.
I don't either.
And my question is, if John Moxley was around, and I could have Moxley slide in and drop Roman, cool. The easiest way out of this, real quick, is to have Heyman have worked a deal with MVP and cost Brock the match.
Yes.
So in that case, and Bobby gets to tout that he beat Brock Lesnar,
Or
right?
does Brock, or does Heyman cause Brock to lose himself?
Yeah, Heyman cost.
He's
Oh,
truly with
Roman. Yeah, that's what I. So I
This can
think
go so many ways, Steven.
I'm taking Lashley
Okay.
mainly because I think they. I think they're going to make that title the Elimination Chamber stuff and all, like. I think we're going to need some filler and to figure out who is going to be the person to challenge.
Yes.
I'm taking Lashley to beat Lesnar, and it feels really bad because I'm picking Brock to lose, which is like predictions 101. You just don't do that.
Oh gosh, this can go so many ways because it depends on if they want to do winner take all at Mania.
Yeah.
You know what's throwing me off? KO's throwing me off.
Yeah. Look, Kevin
I
Owens.
say that is because I feel like for a while now I've had two main people winning the men's rumble.
Yeah.
It was either Big E or KO.
Yep.
Watching the last couple of weeks, KO's really had some momentum.
Yeah.
So I think KO. So if what you're saying happens, I could see Lashley and KO being the main match for Bobby.
So I mean, I think you could. I think you could flip that title again.
So at the Elimination Chamber,
you could
still there.
You could also get Edge and Lashley. I think. Again, I think for Raw. Ultimately, I'm making my decision on this.
Yes.
But I could be completely wrong because Seth Rollins could take the Universal title back to Monday Night Raw, and we could still do the same song and dance, right?
Correct.
But I think they're gonna want to. Lashley is in such a good place right now that I think he needs that win more than Seth does. I think Seth has already established what he is.
Yes.
So I'm taking Lashley, but I don't feel good about it.
All right.
Let's go ahead and jump in though.
I'm picking Lesnar. You're picking Lashley.
Let's go ahead. Let's jump over to Roman and Rollins since we've already talked a lot about that. Of course, this means I have Roman winning. I have Roman beating Seth. Because at the end of the day, I don't want... Now, like, I could easily paint the same picture where Heyman and Brock come out to cost Roman, and Seth is the ultimate opportunist and picks up the pieces and stomps him into oblivion, right? Which I'd be super cool with. But there's something about this aura that Roman Reigns has right now that every time he walks out with that title and the glove, and he feels like Thanos. Right, like he feels invincible.
It's really hard. So to your point, where it's hard to pick against Brock, it's hard to pick against Roman.
Yeah.
At this point, like it's. However, if there was anybody at this point that could beat Roman Reigns, it would be Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
it's the only credible person I can think of at this point, besides Brock, that could beat Roman to me. And so.
Well, and then you also have the story of KO and Seth. That has been like simmering, right? It's a side simmer.
Someone's going to have a title. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, we both agree. I don't think either of us believe it's going to be title versus title. So it's essentially, do you think Lashley is going to be in that Mania title match, or do you think Rollins is going to be in that Mania title match? That's the question. Roman and
Roman are main eventing.
Yep.
Hard, man. I usually have such a clear understanding where a story is going.
Sure.
And, it threw me off too. You have the Usos.
Yeah.
And people are assuming the Usos are good, but I don't know if you saw someone posted that screen cap of Jay questioning, kind of questioning things a bit because. Seth had mentioned how Mox and him had to hold Roman up, and now he has the Usos, and that's the only reason why he is where he is because the Usos. And you saw Jay kind of go, right?
Yeah.
You have him starting to question some things character-wise, which is amazing storytelling. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, is it possible Jay Uso could cost Roman?
It's possible.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's possible.
Layers. So I'm ultimately, oh my god.
There's a fun story that
Seth wins, and he takes that Universal title back to Raw.
Rock
takes the other one to SmackDown.
There's a very fun story that you can tell. Roman has lost to Paul Heyman.
Yes.
Roman could then lose the Usos.
Yes.
He's lost his title.
Yes.
Or you've built him up, and now you've torn him back down. So but ultimately, at WrestleMania, he beats Brock and gains it all back.
Maybe the story is he does it on his own. He is truly the tribal chief, and he didn't need all these people to prove that. Does that make sense?
I mean, walking through this story with you, I've just, in my head changed my mind, I messed up picking Brock and Roman because it's going or picking Lashley and Roman because it's going the other way.
You're right, he's losing things bit by bit.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like storytelling 101, right? Like, you see that in so many movies, you see it in so many television shows that, we build this person up, and then we got to bring him back down. And if you could do it, especially if you're going to turn him babyface, slowly turn him babyface, where you've stripped him of everything.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if it's face. I don't know if it's heel. He's
a badass.
Roman.
Much like Lashley, because I don't think Lashley's a heel.
I think so. It's kind of the same as Seth. Seth is a heel. But people are taking to the character so well. You could easily just have a betweener, and people are going to react how they react. I don't think now in the wrestling industry, you need some faces and you need some true heels, but I think people are set where you're going to react however you're going to react.
Yeah.
When you try and force a reaction out of people,
that's when they backlash.
For instance, Rollins, babyface Seth Rollins, they tried to force this babyface on you, and I think people rejected that because Seth is... He tells it like it is, right? He just...
Can we be honest for a second? Both of us have tweeted this.
Yes.
I caught a lot of flack when I did. I don't know if you did or not. I actually quote tweeted, look out, they're coming for you, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
For my money, if I had to choose one in-ring performer, to go out and put on a 5-star match, Seth Rollins would be that guy for me. I think Seth Rollins is the best... not character, he's the best wrestler in the world right now. That is my opinion. I think that you might share that opinion. He never fails. He's always great. Always.
That man puts on, Steven, there are people calling him mid. I'm like, no, you just dislike this guy. I'm sorry. If you don't like a character,
he popped off.
Like him, if you think you don't like him as a person, fine. But if you're a true wrestling fan, you can admit when someone's a great wrestler, I just don't like them. But he's a great wrestler. Then say that.
Yeah,
to call him mid is absolutely, come on.
Look, he popped off about Will Ospreay and his bank account, and nobody's forgiven him since then. But so many people have been compared to Shawn Michaels. So many people have. That's my comp. Seth Rollins, to me, is the closest thing that we've seen to Shawn Michaels. His ability to sell, his ability to work as a babyface, his ability to work as a heel, his ability to work with big guys, small guys, thin guys, whoever. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It's going to be great, right? Moving on. What do we got now? We got the Men's Rumble? We got the Men's Rumble. These two Rumble matches are super crazy to predict. Sorry we're running long, folks, but this is kind of what you're going to get. We're not super structured. We're just kind of shooting it.
Rumble's not every week, right? This is Rumble week.
So real quick, let's discuss how many surprises do you foresee? Do you foresee any forbidden door going on in the Men's Rumble?
Maybe. I just can't guess who it would be. I could see it happening, absolutely. Especially now that Mickey's happened.
I have a name. A guy Vince loves. A guy that loves WWE. He's been making splashes all over Matt Cardona. Zack Ryder. Mm-hmm. He gets to come in. Yep. My guess is if he got offered another deal to come, he would. And Vince, for everything I've ever heard, Vince loves him too. He's got The Miz is friends with him. Ziggler's friends with him. I could see that. I could see them hey, come on in, get your spot, woo, woo, woo.
I've even thought Ken Shamrock.
Oh, that's a great name.
Who we haven't seen on WWE
in a long time. A long time.
And that would be awesome to see him. So I randomly thought of him. I don't even know. I follow him, obviously. But I don't know. I randomly thought about him. You know, without the other one that hit me was what's it? No, what are they called? Oh my gosh. I can't think of their name. APA? No.
Oh, AOP, the Authors
AOP,
of Pain.
Thank you. I'm saying this wrong. AOP, right? Like we kind of saw them in NXT backstage, and then
they were gone.
Everything's kind of fell, and they were gone again. So I'm like, are they signed? Are they not signed? Or could they appear? Like, because them with Seth was so awesome to me, and then it just kind of fell off when one of them got injured. But
yeah,
I would love to see them appear in Rumble.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Do you think we see it? Don't know. Is there a Johnny Gargano sighting?
Ooh, you know, they were waiting for him. You know, at Beach Break.
They were chanting like.
And then he tweeted saying like, "I know you guys are excited to see me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, he's doing the family thing right now." And
hey, good. At the end of the day, I want them to have a healthy baby. I'd love to see him in the Royal Rumble. I have two names. I have two surprise names that I'm going to throw out there. You tell me if you agree or disagree. The first is the big rumor going around, Shane McMahon. It makes a lot of sense with the Austin Theory story. You can put Theory in a big match. Shane will bump his tail off. Like, you'll get some really cool Shane Vince vignettes, like to touch that inner kid in you.
Yes. Absolutely.
The second name I have is Bad Bunny.
Okay, so I did see
the tour dates change. Like he's got no. He's a little free right now.
You know, Bad Bunny looks so good, man. And I'll be honest, he's probably the best celebrity I've seen. And I've seen a lot of them over the years.
Yeah.
WWE. He came and bumped his tail off. His appreciation for the art. Like, I would be so happy to see him. And
I wonder if people know who he is yet. Like,
as far as wrestling goes,
yeah. Do you think
industry-wise, absolutely?
Well, no. Do you remember like wrestling fans were like, "Who is this guy? Never heard of this guy."
I was that person.
Were you?
Funny, yes.
Okay.
I heard it. So funny story. I listen to a lot of music.
Sure. So do I.
I don't necessarily always know who it is. Like, I hear the songs. And
fair.
This right. I listened to plenty of his songs and just didn't even realize it.
Sure.
And so I didn't know who he was when I saw him.
But you had heard.
Bunny, I was like, oh, Bad Bunny, right? So I was like, okay, but
I coach youth soccer, and I coach teenage, like all the way up to teenagers. So like I'm the wannabe cool hip guy that's not really cool and hip, but but I hear all the things like a lot of the girls on one of the teams wanted me to do a TikTok, so I did a TikTok.
Oh my gosh, my daughter's been asking me every day, can we do TikTok?
Oh goodness.
No.
Yeah. So, all right. Do you have any names you want to throw out there? I have Bad Bunny. I have Shane McMahon.
Men's,
and Zack Ryder.
AOP.
Okay.
I think Ken Shamrock.
That's a great name.
Legends go.
That's a great name.
I'd love to see him. That's pretty
okay.
Cool. To your point, the buzz is around the women for me. So I
yeah.
didn't put that much thought into the men's rumble, except for the winner, right? So whoever comes, I'm sure will be surprised and happy. You know, I've even had a thought to get some ex-WWE talent that got released.
Yeah.
Showing up, and
RVD is another name.
Yes.
RVD is another
one.
Yeah.
I mentioned, I think, on Twitter before as well.
All right, so let's. The big thing with the Rumbles are always the Final Four, right? Are you somebody who loves the build up to the Final Four and then they get their stand in their corner moment, or do you love it when it gets accelerated a bit and you just have the final two standing there, kind of like Bianca and Ripley last year?
Like the way they did the men's Rumble in 2020.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Where you just have Brock just clothesline them fools, right? Pulling them over, and then like for what 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my god, like there's gonna be nobody left. Like we're at like number 16 already.
Yeah.
Like we're at number 18. But the way they built that up so well, to elevate Drew's win, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, they did, because when you finally got Brock over and out, everyone was like, yeah. It was an amazing storytelling moment for Rumble.
Do you remember we just spoke about Dewdrop, right? And how it's such a big, that moment for Drew eliminating Brock, that was that, okay, we got something here. Which, like, he's a great, like, he's huge, he's jacked, he's a good-looking dude, he's got an accent. Like, he should be on every women's morning talk show. Because, like, he's perfect. Like, he's a perfect individual.
And even after he eliminated him fighting someone, eliminating him, and going back to Brock and taking him down right outside of the ring. I was like, this is awesome. But, like, I love a build-up in a Rumble. And you don't know if it's going to be number 1 or 2 who are in the last 4, right?
Yeah.
It might just be all latecomers that are in the last 4. You don't know. We don't know. And that's what I love about Rumble.
So let me ask you.
Great ability to tell a story.
Who's your final 4 for the men's Rumble?
Okay. Big E.
Agreed. I have KO.
Sorry. Big E, KO.
Yep.
And I even have Finn Balor.
Finn. Oh, that's a good name.
I have Finn in there. And the 4th person is Roman Reigns.
Okay. We kind of took the same route here, right? I have KO. I have Big E. I have Damian Priest. And I have Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
As the
because you had Brock Lesnar.
Because we have the same path. It's just we're on different tracks here, right? So I'm assuming you have Roman winning then.
I do.
Okay, I have Brock winning. So we again same exact path here. There is now
the reason why I say that is because they have touched. I don't know if you noticed. And they were doing it more on the women's side than the men's, but I think they posted, I want to say it was one of the days this week, how Stone Cold has won the Rumble.
3 times.
And then they keep saying, like, Charlotte won again. Who will be the first woman to win it twice, right? And then they keep touching on these multiple wins, and Roman Reigns has won the Royal Rumble before. So even though they're touching on it, no one's truly thinking. Okay, I think most people are picking like Big E, KO, to win, and maybe even Brock Lesnar. And I'm like, none of these people have won before. They keep touching on someone winning again. So for me, I'm like, well, what if it's Roman, right?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I think it might be Roman. He gets himself into that match. Let's say someone else, right? Just injures them and just goes, right?
Yeah.
Because he's the tribal chief. Or he has the Usos go take someone out. Like, whatever it is. And so, I could see...
So, again, we have the same exact thought logic here. I have Brock destroying Sami Zayn. Right?
Love the story.
So you have the Sami Brock story, that you have it's all a conspiracy. He still doesn't get his chance at the title, right? Because Brock destroyed him. So, again... We have we have the same story arc. We believe the same thing's gonna happen. We flipped the coin, and I took Bobby, and you took Brock, and I took Roman, and you took Rollins. But ultimately, we think it's all leading in the same direction.
Yes.
So let's now jump to what we believe should be, and I believe will be, the main event of the show. I think it's this Rumble match. It got so much hate early on because they didn't have enough women and they released too many people, and now they had to bring in all these fun names and like, could you
every year they do this?
Could you imagine
of all the people they release?
Yeah, like could
they
you
do this every year? Like, it's not like this is new that they brought in all these legends. It's literally what they do.
Yeah.
And if you're really talking about it, they have enough women on the roster
Yeah.
the NXT
Yeah.
to fill the Royal Rumble if they wanted to. So that's not even a fair argument. It doesn't make sense.
I think we're gonna see more returns and debuts and stuff.
The fact that they announced it, they announced it. They announced it because now there's so much buzz about it. Right?
Yeah.
There's so much buzz around the Women's Rumble now, and that was the point. That's marketing. And
yeah,
the fact that they announced these means there's going to be bigger and bigger surprises.
Sure.
Coming, right?
Well, I got Raquel Gonzalez making her debut, and I think she throws out a lot of people. She's probably in that. She's probably in that early third, like the first 10
yes.
that come in, and she gets that clean house moment. She eliminates 4 or 5 people, and then she gets tossed right by I don't know, undersized Liv Morgan maybe. Like that could be a really fun story for Liv, right?
Yep.
I think that you get Asuka back, and like that's a name.
Let's talk
like
about returns.
Man,
returning. Returning.
I
think
Asuka, Lacey, Banks, and Bailey. Or do you hold Bailey off to after Mania?
Look, here
there's so many women on this. Oh my goodness.
I do. Because for me, if Bailey returns, then the Becky Bailey story is the Mania match, and I don't think that's where they're going right now.
Yeah.
So take Becky for instance. Becky said she was ready back before Mania time.
Yeah.
Right? They held on to her, and they were going to keep her out till October, till fall.
Yeah.
For the start of the Winter/Rumble Mania season. They just brought her back early because Sasha couldn't compete, and so in SummerSlam.
And she would be a huge night after Mania or Friday after Mania.
And that's why I think. So, I believe, and we'll talk about this later in more in depth, but I believe Becky will be dropping her title at Mania. So, if you want a huge feud for Becky after dropping the title, you bring in Bailey, right? Given I am as hopeful as anybody else, I see Bailey showing up at the Rumble, right? I will probably cry if I saw her because I freaking love Bailey so much. I tell people this all the time. Becky was not around. Bailey would probably be my number one. So I would be so happy to see her. I don't think she's coming yet.
Sure. Look, you make a lot of sense with that.
Asuka, Lacey, still on the shelf with Sasha. I still feel like they can surprise us. I still don't know if she'd win the Rumble. I think if she does show up, she's the one who eliminates Charlotte. So I think Charlotte is going to be the Brock Lesnar of 2020. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
She's going to be just eliminating women left and right. Charlotte's going to get her second Rumble win. Everyone's pissed. And who do you give that momentum to, right? Who's the one who throws her over? Because I think for most people, I think they believe the Mania match is Sasha versus Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Have Sasha be the one that comes in and eliminates her. She's the one. That starts the feud. Charlotte's pissed. Then you go on the SmackDown and they do their trash talking, right?
Sure.
So I believe that can still happen. Sasha could return. I think that's all I have for returns. Asuka, Lacey, Sasha.
Maybe Bailey, but doubtful. I agree with that list. My question's going to become, like, you're going to get this influx of talent. And don't forget, like, Lita and Beth Phoenix, right? Like, I could actually see Lita eliminating Charlotte to be the bridge to Mania, right? To give Lita and Charlotte that feud in between Rumble and Mania.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
and they had that tiff on SmackDown.
Yep.
And it was very possible.
But I'm looking, and I like to try to like put pieces everywhere, right? And like the one name. So like if you have Becky and you have Charlotte, right? Bianca's that next piece I have to place because I think her and Sasha but we don't know if Sasha's healthy. But so those are the next 2 names where I'm like, all right, where do you put these 2? And then what do you do with Rhea Ripley? What do you do with Lacey Evans and Asuka? Because like for my money, if I'm just looking for the best match, Give me Becky versus Asuka again because they're amazing and I love it and they have such a story and
Magic.
everything else. But I could see like Alexa and Asuka.
Yes.
Because I think Alexa could carry that feud on the microphone with her character work.
I do. Yes. No, you were correct.
So.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Asuka. I feel that Asuka is underestimated a bit in that realm, and to me, that has been proven.
Sure.
In her feuds against Becky.
Yeah.
Right. She had mic work. She had mic time, and Becky responds. It's the way the person responds to Asuka that makes it.
Asuka needs a strong character.
Yes.
Right, because she has to deliver those explosive, quick, like she's the opposite of the Miz, where the Miz
her promos are quick and to the point and yeah.
Yeah, so when you have a Becky Lynch or an Alexa Bliss or a Charlotte even, right, where they are so confident in their character and who they are that they can absorb the Asuka like the intensity and then match it, right, which makes Asuka's promo sound so much better.
Yep.
But let's get into it. Final four for the women. You went first for the men. I'll give you a moment to think, and I'll go ahead and go. I think Charlotte. I think Bianca Belair. Oh, goodness. I think Liv Morgan. And I think Ronda Rousey. And I have Ronda Rousey winning the Rumble and stringing it along until WrestleMania. Not until WrestleMania, but who am I going to face? And then you get both shows, and you get Charlotte getting to play that cowardly heel, and then Becky playing the you want it, come get it. Like, I'm big time Bex. I'm better than you. I've already beat you. You know.
Like also low key looking over her shoulder.
Just like Roman, right? With like Daniel Bryan or Edge or one of those guys, like or John Cena. John Cena was perfect, right? Like. You have these two massive people, and Roman is on this run, and he can't be stopped. But then John Cena comes around, right? And John Cena's John Cena, and Ronda Rousey's Ronda Rousey, right? So that's what, and I think that main event's night one, and I think it is I think it gets all the exposure. But man, that means I got to have Bianca Belair win the number one contendership over on SmackDown and face Charlotte Flair. And let them wrap up that little story they had from
That's
Raw.
Why I'm interested to see what happens at Rumble in the match, okay? Because, to your point, if Ronda is returning, if Sasha's returning, again, I still think Sasha versus Charlotte is the Mania match for them.
Yeah.
Okay? And Sasha ultimately gets that title.
Yeah.
And has her Mania moment. If Ronda's returning, they're not main event.
No.
So,
it would be a killer co-main, though, opposite Roman. Like, if you have Roman Brock and Charlotte Sasha as the top of that night 2 card, that's awesome.
Amazing. Okay, so my final four, I think. What were your 4?
I'm actually going to switch out Liv, and I'm going to go with Lita. Lita, Bianca, Ronda. And Lita, Bianca, Ronda.
You said Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Okay, so to your point, so I'm really curious to see what happens in this Rumble because Bianca is the third key, like you said.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be her facing Becky, and it's Ronda, or ultimately going to be Ronda, and then Ronda's winning the Mania or the Rumble, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it depends on who Bianca is feuding with in the Rumble.
Yeah.
Is going to be Bianca's Mania match because they're going to give her a Mania match. I don't see them
100%. 100%.
I do not see them throwing.
I want to see her KOD Charlotte out of the Rumble. Yes. And then you get this fate where Ronda and Bianca are the final 2. Right?
But I'm for that. If Sasha does not return.
Sure.
If Sasha is returning, she is eliminating Charlotte.
Probably.
She will be the one. So, but if she is not, then to your point, I would love to see it be Bianca. Because that's a huge pop, right? If Charlotte has been decimating women left and right through the Rumble, which I completely believe they're going to make her the most dominant person in that match.
Yep.
Which they have nothing. She's just a dominant force in general. Then that's a huge pop for Bianca. That's a huge pop for Liv. Remember, Liv and Charlotte have some beef as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would have Charlotte. I'd have Charlotte eliminate Lita, right? Because you can still short term that feud.
Yep.
And then you have Bianca, KOD, Charlotte out of the ring. Mm-hmm. And then you have Rousey and Bianca is the final two, and like that feeling like that. It's another big moment for Bianca, and I'm such a fan of her because again, I legitimately believe she could be the sole cover girl of WWE 2K24 or what like she
it's coming.
Like how do like we always talk about like can't miss people, right? Like Killer Cross or Karrion Kross or Keith Lee or Bianca Belair literally checks every all things, right? Like all things. So
my final four is Bianca, Liv, Charlotte, Ronda.
Okay.
If Ronda is not returning, it is Bianca, Liv, Charlotte, Sasha.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if Sasha does return, I see her eliminating Charlotte, Bianca eliminating Sasha. Then you have Bianca, Liv, Ronda, and then those three have it out. And to your point, Bianca and Ronda are final two, right?
Yeah.
So I have Bianca, Liv, Charlotte, Ronda, and there's just so much story to be told there, and I'm curious to see what if Ronda does come back, where Bianca's falling. Who is she facing off with?
Yeah.
Because that could be her potential Mania match.
Yeah.
I would love to see her go against anybody. I could see. What if we get a Bianca Raquel?
Well, let me ask you this, right? We talked about Legends, and we're gonna wrap up shortly, folks. I promise. But we talked about Legends for a few minutes. The Bellas are in this Rumble, right?
Yes.
Bianca Nikki Bella isn't exactly bad, and Nikki's got star power, and she's got.
How much Nikki can bump?
Sure.
What if they do a handicap match?
Both Bellas versus Bianca. I'm in. Like that gives like, and look, that even adds to the strength of Bianca. But like, I beat two people. I beat one of the greatest women's pairings of all time at WrestleMania. I'm sold. Like, I'm sold that is now Bianca's path.
So I was gonna say, if it's not Bianca versus Becky because Ronda returns, give Bianca a legend or two.
Yeah.
Right. She has the most
to
gain.
They can
legend right now.
They can play that heel side so well.
Oh. Yes.
And they can really Bianca needs to. She's been taken down, right? Mm-hmm. But I think you have to drive her down a little bit further. And I think the Bellas would be like the perfect pairing to speak down to her, which is kind of what you're going to need. Like, we held the title for we didn't lose to we would have never lost in 8 seconds, 12, however long it was, to Becky Lynch. We wouldn't have done that, right? Like, we carried an entire generation on her. We made TV shows on and on and on. And then you could just feel like you would want to see Bianca just destroy them, right? And then it would be very satisfying at WrestleMania. So actually, that's my prediction for WrestleMania. Bella's Bianca. I think it could be an amazing story.
If they don't have the Bellas going for the tag titles, because that is also still very possible as well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm saying. This can go so many directions, Steven.
Yeah.
It can go so many. I don't know.
All right, so
I'm saying if Ronda returns, she's winning. If Ronda does not return, Bianca wins.
I'm gonna flip this a little bit. I'm gonna go if Ronda doesn't return, I think Sasha definitely returns. And I have Sasha winning the Royal Rumble. All right, I think. Look, we've run through this card. This is episode 1, folks. If you like this, you're gonna get a lot more of it. Again, please subscribe, hit the like button, follow us on all the platforms. Twitter is shown here. You can also follow the show handle. It is Worked with SS.
Yep, at Worked with SS.
At Worked with SS. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye, and then I'll let Stephanie go ahead and say goodbye. Everybody, peace, love, too sweet. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in on our first episode. And I hope you enjoyed Worked with Steph and Steph.
Later, everyone.
Enjoy the Rumble.